Hi, I'm Eric.
Alrighty, welcome to Detroit in Black and White. I am broadcasting from Tech Town in Detroit, in Midtown here. We're going to be having Vanessa Moss any moment now, and Adolph is not going to be joining us, and Jim is down in Florida. So for the moment, it is me. Welcome everybody to a Saturday. We've had a lot of stuff going on this week. We've had the shutdown. They voted on the shutdown to get the government going back again. We've got, I was listening this morning, and it just, this administration just outrages me in so many different ways. We have Donald Trump now threatening to sue the BBC for maybe $1 billion, $5 billion. And you know, it's based on nothing. It's like, do you base it on the harm to the reputation of Donald Trump? How can you ruin that man's reputation? He's been convicted. He's been accused of rape. He's been found in a civil court for sexual assault. Just on and on and on. And so it's good morning, Vanessa.
Good morning. Good morning.
So, anyways, I just wanted to talk. I'm talking about the BBC. I just want to say real quickly. So Trump is threatening to sue the BBC for at least $1 billion. And mind you, the figure is arbitrary. You can pick any figure. He could say $1 trillion. He can put that in writing. So the question becomes, the issue is the BBC ran a documentary just before the election last year in 2024. And mind you, how many people in the U.S. watch BBC? And not only that, but then how many people actually saw the documentary? So the two things are going on there. What happened is during the documentary, they spliced together parts of speeches that were hours apart, 1 hour apart. And Trump was claiming that it made it look like he was calling for an insurrection, which he was, as far as I'm concerned. And so two things are going on now. One, the statute, BBC has apologized. The statute of limitations is up in, it's expired in England, and he can file something in Florida, but then he has to prove how many people here in the U.S. saw it and how much damage did it do to an election where he won. So it's just all a bunch of bluster, and the BBC saying, screw you. Okay, we apologize. We shouldn't have done the editing in that way, but you're not getting a dime from us. And I'd be surprised. It's distraction. I think I was just reading where the administration is freaking out over, they're freaking out over the Epstein thing. They don't know how to deal with it. So anyways, welcome, Vanessa.
Yes, first of all, good morning. I'm sorry for my delay. I actually thought I was a little early, but I wasn't. But at any rate, first of all, good morning. We missed you last night. I also want to say good morning to all of those that are joining us in the comment section. I want to say this. You know what I'm going to ask you to do. We want you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. We want you to tell all your friends about the greatest show on these YouTube streets. We want you to like, subscribe, share. Tell all your friends about Detroit in Black and White. Before I get going and before I make a response to you, Allan, I want to say good morning. I'm going to say good morning to, let's see, Janet overall. She always follows the assignment. She shares. Thank you for following the assignment. I'm also going to say good morning to Dewayla Boyce. We missed you last night, D-Love. Derek Henry, good morning, fam. Karen Winston, Mr. 1213, he said, good morning, Allan. G Money, Hollywood said, good, Allan, greetings. How are you this Saturday? Then he said, he also said, good morning to me. Janet overall said, "Good morning, everyone." She's telling everyone to have an awesome weekend. We also have Eric Brown who's joining us. He said, "Good morning." Janice Saluk, good morning to all. Kenneth Reed says, I mean, he likes the show so much. This is what he's doing. He said he is going to be driving, running errands, but once he hit the road, he'll be listening to Detroit in black and white. We also have Jill Sheridan. Jill, thank you so much for watching Detroit in black and white, and thank you so much for your comments. And Jenna, overall, she says my cousin is in Texas is watching. Thank you. Thank you for giving us Texas love. The person that's in Texas they're in the Little D, Dallas. What part of Texas? But at any rate, good morning. So, hi, Irene Matthews. Hi. She's from Texas. So, you're talking about the current administrator who is talking about suing the BBC. The reality is this. We live in a very litigious society, and this is a litigious person. He sues everybody. So I don't know, why it would be bothersome, because that's the society that we live in. Everybody sues. They sue. Listen, it could be based upon a lie, but guess what? They're going to sue. So,
I mean, my concern really is not so much that he sues, because as you say, anybody can sue, anybody can file a lawsuit. My concern is what has happened so far when he has sued is that all these companies that are worried about licensing and mergers and stuff like that, even though, I mean, ABC settled with Stephanopoulos, who said that Trump was convicted of rape when it was sexual assault in a civil proceeding. They gave him, I can't remember what the settlement was, but then 60 Minutes, that Paramount was trying to do a merger, they were sued by, again, for an editing thing, which was fine, and they paid out. So my only concern, and I hope, I mean, the BBC says, screw you, we're not giving you a dime, and hopefully that's what it is, because he's been extorting. He got kicked off of Facebook, and he got Zuckerberg to give him like $25 million. I mean, anybody can get kicked off.
Guess what, Allan, though? When you talk about NBC, Peacock, you're not trying to be funny. I don't feel sorry for them. They got the money. They got the money and the means to pay. I'm just telling
nothing to do with money. It has it's principle. It's like, yeah, they've got, it's the principle of it that a president of the United States can intimidate the media. I mean, he pushed for Colbert to get off. He pushed for Jimmy Kimmel to get off. And the great thing about Jimmy Kimmel getting pushed off was that people started, including me, started canceling their Hulu accounts and boycotting ABC. And ABC said, whoa. And they brought Jimmy Kimmel back, but it's not the money, it's the principle. If he intimidates, and hopefully BBC, like I say, statute of limitations is up in England, and here in the U.S. he's going to have to prove that enough Americans watch that, which I never saw it, and I consume a lot of news, and I do watch the BBC sometimes. So,
Well, Eric Brown says that he has the BBC. The license to sue by admitting that they purposely edited the way they presented the January 6th issue. What do you have? How do you respond to that?
You know what? I think, there were parts of the speech. I mean, if the message was, I mean, you try to be as transparent as you can. They edited speeches an hour apart, put it together, and some people construed it as being one speech, and that it was a succession of things saying. So it was not the proper thing. Look, TV has been editing video for many decades, and sometimes they don't do it right. They should. They obligated. They apologize. But the reality is, yes, he was riling up the troops to go down there.
But Eastside Al, you said that they try to be as transparent as they can. Why can't you just be transparent? Why is it they try to be as transparent?
No, you should be, but it's an imperfection. I mean, look, somebody edited it improperly. I mean, you try to, when you're doing video, you try to edit it in a way that's not misleading. And it may have been misleading, but I mean, the message is, the same, but they shouldn't have done it that way. But it's, and so they apologized, and I think some people have been fired for it. But
So your argument is this: they did it. They weren't as transparent as they should be. It was misleading. So if he wants to sue, let's see what happens. G Money Hollywood says nothing will be done regarding the case. The media needs some ratings and need to get some ratings until they announce a new pandemic or officially declare America's in a recession. This is bought news. We also have name I don't know how to pronounce it. Grand Rising Detroit Black and White host, viewers, subscribers, and listeners. What up, though? Thank you so much. We have shared story, but the message wasn't the same. Willis Martin says BBC has been lying for decades. So, Allan, there are some people who probably feel the way that I feel. Listen, if you're not, you need to be transparent. People watch the news, right? You want to be transparent because you don't want to give out information or fake news, right? And for people to rely on that fake news. Even on Detroit Black and White, if we say something wrong, I know for a fact you go back and you do your research and say, hey, correction. I've done the same thing. With a big entity like the BBC, they should not afford themselves to not be transparent.
I agree. Well, I agree. I mean, the standards should be extremely high. And like I say, they have apologized, and I think some people may have lost their jobs over it. But look, the thing I'm concerned about, I mean, you can say he can sue, and he can sue. I just hope that the BBC is, I mean, look, when the Wall Street Journal published a story that Trump had sent Epstein this card that he had drawn. First of all, he said, I don't draw, which was a lie because they saw other drawings that he had done. He kept screaming, I'm going to sue. And Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal. And Rupert Murdoch was like, fuck you. Go ahead and sue. We're going to, and he hasn't sued them because it was the truth. Look, the thing is, I agree with that, but we should also have a president who tries, at least attempts to be factual. He said in a speech about a month ago, he said, in the U.S., we are, since I've taken office in the last 6 months, we are producing 18,000 more cars per month. It was 167 cars.
So I want to challenge you, Allan. You said the president should at least be factual. So should the media.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying
if he decides that he's going to sue, let's see what happens.
He's the biggest, but he said Obama is getting commissions from Obamacare. He got that from a news site that says we are fiction. This is not true, and he posts it on there. So the guy has no credibility. He yells fake news. The guy is a fake news unto himself.
But listen, Allan, and I think our co-host for Detroit Black and White would probably agree. The example that you just used, him going on this website, people believe what they want to believe, whether it's factual or not. Those of us that exercise our discerning spirit, you can look at something and it could come from a credible news site, and we could look at it and say, this story has holes in it. This is a lie. So I blame it on people who go with this narrative, whatever the narrative is, whether it's a narrative that he's telling that's truthful or false, or the media. I have a problem with you going forward with information that you can look at it and tell that it's a doggone lie.
It says on the site, this is a fictional thing. And
why are we even talking about it? We know it's a lie. Because those people who want to believe it are going to, no matter what you say, they're going to believe it.
Well, that doesn't, I'm not sure the point of saying, well, people want to believe what they want to believe. It's like, okay, so the BBC can do, I mean, look, Eric's right. I mean, the media should be held to an extremely high standard. I can tell you, I worked for the Detroit News for 11 years, and we had extremely high standards. I worked for the Washington Post, and again, we had extremely high standards. Were there ever stories that were misleading. There was some story written about the business section about Firestone or something, and they got the facts screwed up and they had to apologize and write a retraction. It happens, but you try to be as careful as possible.
Okay.
So
Well, we have our guest that's backstage, so let's shoot to a commercial. Then we come back. We'll have Haley Stevens. You can introduce her, Allan, and then after she's done, we'll go back to the comments in the comment section. Detroit.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
okay, welcome back to Detroit in Black and White. It's Saturday morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. We've got Congresswoman Haley Stevens. She is been a Congress member since 2019, and she is now running. She's a Democrat running for the U.S. Senate seat that's going to be opening with Gary Peters leaving. Welcome, Haley.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
We're fine.
Good. So let's get into it. We have the shutdown is grinding to a halt, but only temporarily. You voted against you voted against the bill, which basically would reopen the government. Tell us what's going on, and there's another vote supposed to come up in December, and then the funding only goes through January. Are we going to go through another shutdown, or what's your feeling there?
Yeah, well, it's certainly a lot of the chaos and uncertainty that just continues to come down from this administration, and unfortunately, the current leadership, the Republican leadership that we have in place. I couldn't vote for the deal because it didn't work for Michigan. And that's the mode that I am going to be in and have always been in terms of looking at the cost of living crisis that we have right now, that people are being priced out of their health insurance, that we didn't get relief on the costs for healthcare. And so, look, because the deal didn't work for Michigan, I didn't vote for it. And of course, there continues to be uncertainty in government funding, but there's also tremendous uncertainty for the working people of Michigan each and every single day. And it's only accelerating because of the challenges that are being brought on by rising healthcare costs.
Ms. Stevens, given that the government shutdown is over, there is a halt, how do you feel that your fellow Michiganders feel about it in light of the fact that their benefits were at a halt and that kind of thing? How do you feel that they feel about that?
Well, look, I believe that people are really hurting, and the conversations that I am having with people where folks are coming up to me is that their healthcare costs are through the roof, that the grocery bill is higher than it ever has been. I've been writing legislation called No Tariffs on Groceries Act. It's amazing that this administration saw the writing on the wall and took the steps to remove tariffs from some key items that go into our grocery store, like beef. But we've got to see if that actually works. I believe my law should become, or my bill should become the law. That my idea is what's going to work for the people of Michigan and their pocketbooks, and we should be doing everything we can to address rising costs. And those are real solutions that I'm offering each and every single day for the people of Michigan. And you're correct, Vanessa. It's folks' tax dollars that go into the government, and so those tax dollars need to work for you.
Let me ask you, obviously, I mean, healthcare was sort of at the center of all this, and healthcare is super expensive for the average American, and is obviously going to be a lot more expensive for those on affordable healthcare. When you talk to, and you get a chance to talk, is there communication with your Republican colleagues, and how do they justify essentially taking away healthcare through either affordable healthcare or through Medicaid? Have you had an opportunity to talk to them, and what are they saying behind,
Yeah, it is very well known that in the Senate, they were in the room together for a very long time, and they were at an impasse that no real solution was put to the table. This is a different belief system. And it's also, frankly, triage, because when November 1st hit and open enrollment began, costs were going up 145%. And so that reality is hitting people. This is about small business owners, too. This is about people who are maybe an independent contractor, or they started their dream shop and they're on the open enrollment. And they now are going to see their healthcare costs, their premiums, triple. And it's not going to work. Couples who are in their 60s who are on the open exchange are paying upwards of $1,000 a month now for healthcare. Young people who are feeling some of the effects of this uncertain economy not only are having a hard time finding a job, but if they're trying to start their own thing, it's going to be harder for them to get healthcare or stay on their parents' healthcare if that is the plan. And so we need to meet the urgency of the moment head on. And that's certainly what I'm trying to do each and every single day as a representative for Michigan. This is very much a palpable moment for the state of Michigan. Some of our counties have some of the fastest growing unemployment in the union. We've got a lot of uncertainty just around where the industrial economy is going to go, given that we've got tariffs coming down on even places like Canada. That's squeezing out a lot of tourism dollars. And we're also seeing cuts to manufacturing investments in the tax package that was passed earlier this year. That's also costing us jobs.
They have Eric. I was going to read. Eric Brown has a question.
I was going to read it as well. Go ahead and read it, then I have a question.
Ms. Haley, can you admit that both sides are part of the problem by shaping messages based on speaking to their own base? This is Eric.
Well, the base I speak to is the base of Michigan, and that's actually the chief job. Is that I would tell everybody in my 4 terms in the United States Congress that I go there with all the other zip codes all over this country represented, and I get to brag about where we're from. I get to tell our state story. That's the vote I cast each and every time I take a vote, and that's what I wanted to be heard in this moment.
Haley, well, with the Band-Aid, I'll call it a Band-Aid, okay, with the pause and the shutdown, have you spoken to constituents, and do they understand that with this pause, that this whole thing about the healthcare, that it's not going to change overnight, okay? That even if the politicians, the elected officials are able to turn it around, it's going to hurt for at least a year. Have you been able to explain that to people? Do people understand that?
Well, that's what I've been communicating, and that's why I didn't vote for the bill. And that's what people here in Michigan were telling me. Absolutely.
So let's get into the race here. It's an interesting race here. You just had a poll come out. It's an internal poll showing that you are ahead in the race.
Poll?
Was it an internal poll? I'm sorry.
I have not released any internal polling.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No.
Okay. I'm sorry. So anyways, you've got a couple, opponents here, and then you've got Mike Rogers on the other side. Let me jump to Mike Rogers. What did you think when he said he was trying to blame a mysterious white van that showed up on election day for him losing to Alyssa Slotkin? What do you, is that part of the whole Republican sort of playbook to blame losses on unfounded allegations? And I'm being obviously a leading question here, but what do you think about that?
Yeah. Look, Mike Rogers is showing each and every single day that he's out of step with the people of Michigan, certainly out of step with the people of Detroit. That's a huge insult to be lobbying over a year later from the election. Those are conspiracy theories that have not served our state well and have created a lot of dangerous rhetoric and, frankly, concern around the belief systems of people running for office. We need to accept free and fair elections. Unlike Mike Rogers, I was in the Capitol on January 6th. I saw the results of the impacts of lies that were spread that led to bad actions and bad actors breaking into the Capitol and seeking to do harm. And it's not acceptable. That's not leadership. And Vanessa just asked that question in a really smart way. Do people understand? And my approach to leadership and public service, which, I've got the heart of a public servant. I got a love letter to the state of Michigan. That's why I'm running for United States Senate. And my cues are taken from the people. That's what's going on for me and my agenda. And of course, as a federally elected official, I have a responsibility to communicate back to voters about all the ins and outs of what's happening in our federal government, and also to be transparent. So it goes both ways. But you can tell that Mike Rogers is spouting lies and bringing conspiracy theories because he's on a losing path for Michigan.
So, Haley, we have, as you say, talked to the people, the Michiganders. We have them in the chat. We have one who said that they went to the store to buy some coffee. It cost $38. They can't even, they said they're drinking tea now. These tariffs are ridiculous. And this is from G Money Hollywood. He said a new deal has to be made in the White House. How soon do you think that can be done? Because it appears as if it's like this. And it appears as if both parties are doing this. And it also, and I'm saying for people are saying both parties are doing this. So how realistic is it that we think that we can believe that you can get something done to stop this whole thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, people deserve representation and they deserve a voice in the halls of government. And that is what I'm trying to do each and every single day. That's why I saw these increased coffee prices coming a mile away, and why I wrote a bill literally called No Tariffs on Groceries Act. As a federal lawmaker, I have my voice and my vote and my lawmaking ability, and I'm going to use all accordingly. And that's what this moment calls for. Who knows if the Trump administration saw my legislation? I'm in the Capitol. I'm in the other co-equal branch of government, but it sure as heck seems as though they did, because I wrote this months ago. And look, we're living in a cost of living crisis to the tune of the pocketbook is feeling the pinch. The dollar isn't going as far as it could. That needs to be heard and understood. We have housing challenges, automobile prices are going up, and Donald Trump said he couldn't care less if they do. And that's a real problem. And those are the bigger ticket items. Now people have knots in their stomach when they're going to the grocery store. I'm the only person running for United States Senate here in the state of Michigan who is not a millionaire. And I'm going to tell you what, people need to be heard. people's voices need to come to the lawmaking table, and we need to just make sure that our eyes and our ears are really on the lived experiences, like our listener who just chimed in with their lived reality.
Right. We also have a viewer who asked you a question. I'm just going to couch in the terms of you running as a Democrat. Democrats really depend on the Black vote, and you running here in Michigan. You're talking about Detroit Black voters. The question is, what are you doing? What will you do for Black voters, for the Black community?
Well, and I can tell you what I've done because I've had the privilege of representing Black communities like Pontiac. We have a very special relationship between my public service in the city of Pontiac, and it has led to, and frankly, my relationship with Black communities across Michigan, Southeast Michigan in particular, where my congressional districts have been, has led to some incredible lawmaking. I've written legislation from several terms ago coming out of COVID because I was very alarmed at Black small business ownership and what was taking place as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, that we had 9 in 10 Black small businesses at risk of closure. And that's not acceptable. And so I wrote legislation to showcase that Black businesses need access to capital, and that we need to continue to utilize the Minority Development Business Administration alongside capital, because we all know what goes into creating a business. It's a lot of dough. It's a lot of resources to stand something like that up. And that is a bill I have written every single term and introduced, and I want to go to the Senate and make sure that's heard. I treasure the relationship that I have with leaders in Detroit. I am so deeply honored to have been endorsed by State Representative, former State House Speaker Joe Tate, a very strong Black leader here in the state of Michigan, alongside 40 members of clergy from faith-based institutions in our Black communities. And this has got to be from the bottom up. Haley Stevens, look, I'm fired up about what's going on in Detroit. We have a story to tell. This state has a story to tell. It's a story of grit, resilience, determination. And that's what's motivating me to run in this moment, linking arms and going forward together.
Let's take a break,
Right.
and then we'll be right back.
Yeah.
Homeownership opportunities are rising in the city of Detroit, and there's a house out there that's right for you and your family. You don't even have to worry about credit or getting a loan. You can win a house for as little as $1,000 and pay for the renovation cost as you go. It all starts at buildingdetroit.org and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. Our auction and Own It Now programs offer a variety of houses and neighborhoods all over the city of Detroit. These homes are in desperate need of repair and new ownership. You can begin by going to our interactive map and detailed property listings to find the right fit for you. It won't be easy, and renovation costs are not cheap, but our compliance team is there every step of the way. We will help you track your progress and connect you with local discounts to save you more money. We have already sold more than 15,000 homes in the city of Detroit, and our inventory is shrinking fast, so you don't want to miss out on this wonderful opportunity. Start your home buying journey today by visiting buildingdetroit.org.
We're back, Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. Thank you all that's joining us on YouTube, X, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms. And want to thank Haley Stevens, who's here as our guest here on Detroit in Black and White. We have someone indicated that things are so, healthcare is so expensive that people that are, I say seasoned, okay, I don't say senior citizens or anything. The people that are seasoned, that are retired, they find themselves, they have to go back to work in order to be able to afford healthcare. So that was just a comment.
I want to bring up something. Last time you were on, right at the very tail end, somebody was asking some questions about AIPAC. And for those who don't know, AIPAC is a lobbying group that lobbies really on behalf of Israel. Israel became obviously a hot potato issue in 2024 for Joe Biden and then for Kamala Harris. You've had the backing, some people say. So the question is, some people say you're beholden to AIPAC, and then the other question is, how do you navigate getting the Jewish vote and the Arab vote and the Muslim vote here in Michigan, which is obviously both significant?
Yeah, well, I certainly can tell you where I'm on this issue. 700 plus days of a long, brutal war that was awful. The images were harrowing. It was deeply hard to take for people who were observing what was unfolding. I long called for an end to the war, to see hostages come home. It was incredible to see the remaining alive hostages, 20 individuals, get reunited with their families, to see Hamas surrender. We're in the early and delicate, fragile stages of a ceasefire that we want to see be long and permanent and lasting. We want to see dignity for people living in Gaza, Palestinian people, and people of Israel who deserve to live side by side.
What do you tell the Jewish voters, I think, have been very supportive of you. What do you tell the Arab and Muslim voters here in Michigan who are saying, oh, we're not, the Palestinians aren't getting enough attention, that the U.S. has been tipping the scale toward Israel? Have you had to address that in any of the Arab communities?
Well, like I said, I wanted to see this war come to an end. I think that we're in some early and promising stages of peace, that I voted for federal aid, humanitarian aid, every chance I could get. I long, stood by calling for hostages of all nationalities and backgrounds to, kind of come, the light getting shined on their, the brutality of the hostage taking to get them home, and to get peace. I mean, there just was some longstanding suffering. And look, in terms of how I'm campaigning, there's a real story here in Michigan about what is happening with small businesses, what is happening with people's pocketbooks. I believe I have the right message for this state and the right vision that is going to speak to all residents of Michigan who are going to come to vote next November. And I have strong leadership that delivers for our state. This is when I served as chief of staff on the U.S. Auto Rescue. This is when I played a lead role in getting the CHIPS and Science Act passed and signed into law. This is laws that I've gotten passed to invest in early childhood education so we can have the next generation of engineers, so that we can have equal opportunity. I fight for Michigan and I win for Michigan, and that has been my record. And that is what I'm out here earning every single day as a candidate for United States Senate.
Hey, Haley, go ahead. I think we need to wrap it up, but go ahead, Vanessa.
I just want to ask this question because I think it's important to our viewers and participants. You talked about how much legislation you have drafted. How many pieces of legislation have you had actually pass and come into law?
Look, I was just named one of the most effective lawmakers in Michigan and for the state of Michigan, and one of the most effective Democrats in the House of Representatives. And I have authored last term dozens of bills some that get put into larger packages, and then some that do get passed. The Senate has frustrated me on a few occasions, Vanessa, because there's some manufacturing and technology bills that I know would be important for Michigan's economy that have been stalled by a couple of actors in the Senate who, when I get to be their colleague, I want to talk to them. That's what I mean about being someone who brings dignity and respect and trust to the lawmaking table for Michigan and able to put my hands down. So, no, it's been an incredible opportunity to represent Michigan's 11th district in the House of Representatives. And I am fired up to be putting up my hand to serve as Michigan's next United States Senator. But to everyone listening, I know I got to earn your vote, and we still got a lot of campaign left. And that's part of what conversations like today's are all about.
All right.
Well, thanks so much for coming by. Good luck on the campaign trail. Obviously, we've got a long time for the election. We'll have to have you back again, and thanks for answering all the questions.
Yeah, and by the way, I feel as though this dialogue, which is so representative of the incredible discourse of democracy, we're really shaping up something. So I appreciate that you remembered the previous interview. We've got this one and hopefully some more in the future. And thank you to everyone listening as well.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. We're sure you're going to be back. You have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Be safe.
All right. That was an interesting interview. We had a lot of comments. I couldn't get to all the comments. And I will say, I think it's important when you run for office that you talk about your resume. She talked about how she's drafted legislation. I think it's important for voters to know what legislation you've written, what legislation has actually become law. So because that makes a difference. A lot of people see people that are in Congress, and a lot of times they say that they don't do anything. So I think this was the opportunity for her to say, I wrote this piece of legislation, this was adopted, so on and so forth. So hopefully when she comes back, she'll be able to do that. And hopefully we'll be able to have some of the other candidates on the show, including Mike Rogers, because I think there needs to be a balance. He needs to be able to explain what his thinking is, what his thinking is not. He's going to do for Michigan.
We'll see if he'll come on.
Yeah.
This is a liberal show here. But
who said that?
Are you not liberal?
You're the only liberal.
I know.
Okay. So I want to get to some of these comments, if you don't mind. And then maybe we could just turn the corner a little bit to something that, because we talk about things that are so dark and so bad, but you know what? People now have their benefits restored. And even though it's a Band-Aid, and I personally have a problem with this, we are coming upon the holiday season. And so, maybe we could turn the corner and talk about some positive things that's going on in the community. But I'm going to read some of these comments, unless you want to read them.
Oh, I can't remember where we start out here.
So I'm going to say, first of all, our viewers are engaging with one another in the chat, which I think is great. So they're getting to know each other. So I just want to acknowledge some of our viewers. I read Stephanie Jackson's comment. G Money Hollywood responded to Eric Brown. He said he thinks Folgers is priced at $30 as well. That's no joke. That's crazy. I don't drink coffee. Do you drink coffee, Allan?
I don't. I quit in, believe it or not, 1983. Because I was up to 9 cups a day, and it was burning a hole in my stomach, and I had to stop drinking it. I haven't. I'm grateful that I don't, because I know people go crazy. I've gone traveling with friends, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I have to have a Starbucks. I can't wake up until." And so I'm glad I don't have to deal with that shit.
A lot of this economy, I wonder how many people can still afford Starbucks. But we have a viewer who made a very good point. Willis Martin, 9196 says the president before this one gave us a terrible economy too, and that was one of the things that the current administrator ran on. How do you think that?
I disagree with that. We did not have a terrible economy. We had, look, we had issues coming out of, we've had inflation because we came out of the pandemic, because people weren't working and people didn't want to go back to work. We had issues, and we've been wrestling with, inflation, but this president hasn't really done much. The egg prices have come down only because at the time the bird flu was making eggs harder to get. Now they've moderated, but meat prices, a lot of other, it's insane now. Particularly you go to a restaurant now, if you get a drink, forget about it. I mean, it's so outrageously expensive, everything.
But Allan, you disagree, and I get that, and I respect your opinion. But you do understand that a lot of people do not agree with you, and that is why we have the current. And one of the reasons why we have the current administrator.
We had inflation. There's no question about it. That was really only a thing out of, and Trump was dealing with that because he was here during the pandemic. The pandemic started in March of 2020. He was still president. Prices were going crazy. The economy wasn't perfect, but it was, look, the unemployment was low. Inflation was creeping up there. And for a lot of people, that meant not being able to afford certain things. And that also meant, look, McDonald's is dealing with, they say, the lower income customers. They're seeing less and less of them. Places like Chipotle, they're dealing with less and less people being able to afford. You go to a fast food restaurant, you're still spending $10, $12 for a meal, where it used to be
spending more than that. I don't know, because I don't go to fast food restaurants. I just found that as I've become more seasoned, I prefer to cook at home or go to restaurants that's not a fast food restaurant. So I'm going to read some more of these comments. Eric Brown talking about our guest. He says that she's losing support, mentioning the Black clergy, and Stephanie Jackson agreed with him. Karen Winston talks about how she buys Red Rose teas bags when she can't find them. They are overpriced at $6.99 a box of 100. It's still cheaper than coffee, though. At the end of the month, though, if my money is right, but she buys tea. Willis Martin says, I hear more and more word salad language from all of these politicians. A lot of people feel like that. Terry McCrimmon, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. He says, when people depend on politicians to care of them, that's not winning strategy in the long run. G Money says, he says that he's going to start buying more tea. Power Org says the only Black business that Haley Stevens is concerned about are the ones that are in her circle to get her reelected. Willis Martin says all of them paid for by AIPAC. Karen says doctors decide against your life-saving surgery if you are too old. Her cousin needs a kidney, but if you are older than 70, you are out of consideration. Power Org says, Derek Henry says that our guest sound like she's an app back pocket. Power Org says, Allan, you should not have cut her off, let her finish. I don't know what exactly he's talking about. He also says, no, Haley Stevens, you fight for some of Michigan and win for some of Michigan. And the same are the ones that you come down here and buy their vote.
I want to say, as far as cutting, I'm not sure if there, but we got a note saying her campaign said she had another engagement, so we had to cut it. We would love to have had her for the whole show. When Eric Brown says, how can you say the economy was good when the Biden administration or Kamala Harris admitted that was an issue? I never said, look, inflation was a big issue. Unfortunately, people bought the flim-flam man's promise of day one prices would go down. It's 10 months later and prices are, I think, 3% overall higher than they were last year. So there's no question. Look, when people have to pay more, your dollar's worth less, and you're not, a lot of people aren't getting raises, and they're having to stretch the dollar in different ways, and we're seeing that. So the economy was an issue, particularly inflation, and we haven't really put a big dent in inflation at this point. But I mean, look, for the sake of the American people, let's hope he can do something. But the tariffs he's finally pulled the tariffs off meat now, because meat is going, the price of meat is so high. So it is, the economy is always going to be an issue in every election. Because no matter how good the economy is, not everyone's going to be benefiting from a good economy.
Well, we have a viewer who said that the current administrator was able to win because of borders. And then you have Stephanie Jackson says everybody but the Democrats were trying to close the borders. What do you have to say to that?
I'll say this: there was a bill, a bipartisan bill, out of the senator from I believe Louisiana. It was a bipartisan bill to put a lot more people on the border to try to address the issue, and Trump told them don't vote for it. Did Biden could have done a better job with the borders, there's no question about it. But what's happening now is like, yeah, I mean, it's great. We don't want porous borders. We want some law and order there. But what you're doing now is rounding up people, scaring the shit out of people. You're rounding up people who are actually citizens, people who are here legally, people who are seeking asylum. They're going to their court hearings and they're being arrested. They're doing what's legal and they're being arrested. They're just trying to they have a quota number there and they're trying to do it. So it's not that everything Trump does is bad, but he overdoes it to a point where it's like, look, in China, they monitor everybody. They don't have to get a judge to sign off on any listening devices or anything like that. So their crime rate is lower. They get to watch it. But living in a democracy, there's a balance between me having to, listen to everything Vanessa says and make sure that she's not committing a crime, or them listening to me. And, we give up some little, things there. It's a trade-off. And so I don't know.
So Deborah Harris says she agrees with you about the economy. We also have, there was something Jill says, Jill Sheridan. Good morning, Jill. She says every time a new administration comes in, it has to right the ship, whether because the banksters tanked the economy or we had a pandemic, the challenge was met and we were put on a better footing. Willis Martin, Mr. 1213 says Willis Martin, Biden lost because he looked bad in the debate. Aronde Stokes says, hello, Allan and crew. He also points out the gas is down and the dollar has no value at all since Nixon.
That's a ways back.
Yes, very ways back. You also have Terry McCrimmon. He says, so has the crime rate in Chicago gone down since ICE invaded?
Well, that's the thing in Chicago, we talk about every weekend, and there's too many shootings. Like I don't disagree that it is a crisis that we don't treat as a crisis in every city, including the city of Detroit, where we have shootings all the time. We have homicides. But, to think that the immigrants like in Chicago are committing all those shootings and stuff like that is just not what the reality of it,
So Par Org said, I thought was going to turn the conversation, but I want to make sure that we acknowledge participants. Par Org says, Vanessa, anyone viewing or within earshot of this show today should go back and research or pull Haley Stevens' record, then ask the question, has she been fair dealing on behalf of all, and he capitalized the word all Detroiters. That in part was kind of why I asked the question about legislation that she's written and what has she passed, because I think it is very important that people know that. A lot of times, and you know this, Allan, a lot of times people are running for office, they come in, they talk about where they went to school, where they grew up, what they're going to do, but we need to know what you have done and what you have not done. Listen, I wrote legislation to do this. It didn't pass because of whatever the reason is, but I think that is a part of why there is so much voter apathy, because people feel like we put people in office and they don't do anything.
Well, I think the little bit of a difference when you're one of 435 congressional members, then you go to the Senate where there's 100. So you have a little bit more say on what's going on. I mean, every piece of legislation that she writes not only has to get out of committee and then get approved by the House, but then has to get approved by the Senate. And we have to, yeah, I mean, I think we should
understand this, Allan, though, but you do understand this. The average voter does not remember what we learned in elementary school. I'm only a bill. I'm headed to the Capitol Hill. Most people don't even understand that or even remember that. And that is why I think it is important that people who come into the communities, I don't care what community it is, you listen, I'm tired of the glossy papers. I'm tired of, we're going to safely assume that you have graduated from school. You've done these things to put you on this path. We want to know, what have you done? If you've been in office 4 years, what have you done? If you've been in office for 12 years, what have you done? What have you tried to do and it wasn't successful because of X, Y, and Z? A lot of people don't know the process, Allan. You know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and we probably have to do a better job of researching before we have the guests on to be able to ask some of those specific questions, because we hear a lot of times people say, "Oh, this person doesn't do anything," when people don't know, we're not following them. So if we don't hear from the news, and the news, when I went to the Detroit News when I first started, which was kind of a little bit outrageous, we had 13 reporters in the Lansing Bureau. It was by far the largest state capitol bureau of any newspaper in America. We eventually got down when they realized it was excessive, but we covered everything. We covered, we would file from our Lansing Bureau sometimes 14 stories in a day. We'd file up to 17, and maybe 14 sometimes would get in, where people were able to read it. We don't have that kind of coverage now. Now we have in Lansing, I think maybe the Detroit News has, I know for one for sure, and I think they have two people. The Free Press has one. We have such little coverage. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who's doing what. And then in Washington, the Detroit papers don't really have, maybe, I think maybe they have one or two, maybe two Washington reporters and stuff like that. So it's up to us, but we have some other great candidates in the race. They're all good candidates. And we'd like to see him. And, Mike Rogers would be great to have him on. I don't know if he'll come on a show like this, but we should ask him.
Ask him to come on. Yep. I want to acknowledge Bumpy Key Brewster. I've never seen this name before. Bumpy Key Brewster, thank you so much for participating and watching Detroit Black and White. The comment is, the Republicans threw their party away from MAGA, and it's time for all the furthest left Democrats to do the same. Mr. 1213 says Chicago has multiple warring gangs. Janet says, thank you, Vanessa. You're welcome. Paul Ork says, and Vanessa, the answer is no, that she has not been fair dealing regarding Detroiters. Timothy Squire Bay, good morning. Thank you so much for joining. Said, why did it 10 days for Detroiters to know that they had a serial killer on the loose and finally get caught yesterday? You know what? Maybe we could talk about that on Wednesday, and also talk about the guy that's running the barbershop in the back of the doggone school and someone was fatally shot. Was it last night? That's mad. That is wild. Miss Suzuki said, yes, I'm only a bill and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. That's how I remember it. I mean, because we saw the commercials every Saturday, School Rock. But a lot of people don't remember that. A lot of people didn't learn that, especially the kids that were born in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Karen Winston, I forgot what she said. Stephanie Bingo, she agreed with Stephanie. I think it is, we're getting hit close to the 11 o'clock hour. Kenneth Powell, thank you so much. Thank you for chiming in. He says, salute to all the guys and goddesses. Stay dangerous. Willis Marston says she could have pushed making empty lots in Detroit into small community farms to deal with high prices. Now he said, now that's not word salad. So it is 11 o'clock. It's Saturday. We thank you so much for joining us. Listen, we don't take you for granted. We appreciate you guys watching us every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and joining Allan on his show on Friday mornings, as well as Eric's show on Monday evenings at 8:30. Sometimes we are very tired because we're working and we're doing a whole lot of other things, but we love the fact that not only do we give you information, but you give us information. We're going to ask that you have a safe weekend. Thank you so much, Allan, for joining. Thank everyone again for joining. Tell all your friends about the greatest show on these YouTube streets. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care.